What's up, everybody? It's the OG. I want to come back and talk real quick about the most important thing you should do if you've been laid off. And it's going to sound like it's kind of a little bit out there and everything, but I can promise you, take it from me, someone who's had experience with this, this is without a doubt the very most important thing to do. It's what I wish I had done the first time I got laid off. So it's seriously that important. Before I get into that, hearts go out to the folks at Amazon. I read the announcement that they have about 30,000 or so being laid off here shortly. So, these things never come at the right time. Let's do it right before the holidays. Yeah. So, anyway, heart goes out to all the folks and the folks who are impacted by that. So I know just what a big deal that is. So let's talk about what's the most important thing. Don't worry, we'll get into LinkedIn and your resumes and um, you know finding connections and recruiters. We'll do a lot of that. But before you even get into that, here's one big thing you've got to get out of the way on a personal level, on an emotional level, spiritual level. I want to talk about the power of forgiveness. Now, hang on. Before you just click away, stick with me for a second. This is going to make sense. Um, when you get laid off, there's a tendency sometimes to look for a why, a reason. And when you get laid off, they don't tell you why. They just say, hey, sorry, oh, hearts go out. We're so sorry. Here's your packet to help you find another role. Here's your Cobra, and have a nice life. You never get any feedback. Like I said, I've been laid off when I was in the top 10% of my company. This is a big multi-billion-dollar company. I got laid off from. I was in the top 10%. And there were folks who were nowhere near. They were like in the lower 50, and they were still there. Why is that? So you're looking for a reason, and I will tell you right now, it's not quantifiable all the time. A lot of times it's for emotional reasons. While I've always been known as a team player, someone who's going to work hard, put it in, make it happen, but all the team events and everything, I'm not that one that's going to spend a lot of time, sticking my nose in my boss's rectum. That's never really been my thing. I've never been in the inner clique, that club, that group of special people that always seems to just hover around the boss and they're always in their ear or her ear and that type of thing. And what I noticed on more than one occasion is that, I was laid off and the people who were not laid off were the folks who were in that special group, on that speed dial, always, in that clique. And these were folks whose performance was nowhere near as good as mine. So I will tell you that now you start looking for all these reasons. And in the absence of information, the mind is going to fill in that gap with something. That vacuum is going to get filled. And what tends to happen is you start to blame yourself. You say, well, I suck. I did something wrong. I screwed this up. I screwed that up. And you start to really, really get into this spiral of, I did something that caused this, when in fact, you had nothing to do with it. Because a lot of the reasons for the layoff are not rational, they're not objective. It's because you may not have been in that special group and that hovers around the boss all the time, always saying sweet nothings. Hey, great suit there, JW. Oh, boss, you got your hair did again. The so one. Yeah. But sometimes those are the folks who are still there. Okay. So, be okay with the notion of forgiveness. Think about what forgiveness is and what it isn't. What's it mean to forgive? What's it mean to not forgive? When you don't forgive somebody, you kind of hold a grudge against them for something they did, something they offended you with, or they hurt you, betrayed you, whatever. You haven't let it go, and you're waiting for karma or the universe to come whack them in the head for what they did because you haven't forgiven them yet. So the unforgiveness means you want that person to get some payback, right? It's a very natural reaction, and that revenge factor, it comes in, right? Well, in this context, it's entirely possible that sometimes you hold unforgiveness against yourself. Not really consciously saying, I'm going to not forgive myself. It's this notion of you go around for days, weeks, months saying, oh, I suck, I'm terrible, I can't believe this happened, and why did this happen to me? And I must have done something. And all of that language and energy is building up in this place of unforgiveness where you have not forgiven yourself. And what's unforgiveness? It's hoping something bad happens to you. So sure enough, when you go around in this space generating all this negative energy of unforgiveness towards yourself, bad things happen, or maybe not so good things happen, or things you want to happen don't happen because it's not consistent with the energy that you have within yourself, right? The great things that you're seeking are not consistent with all this dark unforgiveness you hold against yourself, okay? So you probably think I'm crazy. I assure you I'm not, but it wouldn't be the first time I've been called it. But I want you to think about that. Let that sink in for a minute. Be okay forgiving yourself because chances are you had nothing to do with the reason why you were laid off. All right? It wasn't rational. It was completely emotional. And they had to pick heads. And you were one of the ones that, your nose wasn't nuzzled up in the right places. And sometimes that's all it takes. So be okay forgiving yourself. You'll feel better and you'll be in a much better space to receive the good things that are coming. Okay? I'll talk to you later. OG out.